Demagoguery and the modern world. Recently, we have found ourselves overtaken by celebrities who are treated as demigods and who use a form of demagoguery to gain favour with the public. And it is plain to see that the use of jingoism, which stirs up people's fears, especially when they are at such a low ebb, will enable the speaker to get his or her audience to believe in the substance of what they are being told. There are those who live with such despair in their lives that they have become victims to this false love of demagogic celebrity, which has created a more disparate and divided world. This has nothing to do with the current explanation of rejecting an established order that is moving the world forward at such a fast pace that certain parts of society are being left behind. It has everything to do with age-old themes that, simply put, have not changed. The things worth fighting for are simple. There was once a very British code of honour which was to help the weak, the vulnerable, and the destitute. Such ideas were embraced by philanthropists who would not be swayed by celebrity, but by duty. A duty to make the world they live in a better place, not for one person, but for all people everywhere. There was a time when building a new Jerusalem was an idea to strive for. Instead of achieving such noble aims, humanity has been consumed by avarice and hate. Our global family should be one of love and compassion. And in the 21st century, Lazarus should no longer be scratching at the gates of the rich man, being thrown the scraps from his table, and having the wealthy man's dogs lick his sores. We have today people growing up in households which still have social upheaval in them. Bullying still takes place in the home, in the workplace and in society, and can sometimes make its way into the home or work through social networking. In fact, there is a lot of anger in society, and it is shown in everything, in the media and social media, but the cause is about opportunity and the lack thereof. Everyone knows injustice exists. The established order have built a wall around themselves, keeping those they consider unworthy out. And by their support of protectionist views, they have created social exclusion. Our modern world has punished the weak and vulnerable. There have been wars fought that have not taken on the mantle of liberating people, but have brought in its place despair, chaos, and insecurity. There is a simple formula for social harmony, which is if you have a positive social background and social equality, this will lead to upward mobility, and which leads to social harmony, which occurs when people identify with their community. But there are negative social backgrounds and social inequality, which leads to despair and stagnation, which also leads to social upheaval, which is a byproduct of social nepotism. People realise the wrongs that are going on in society, and yet all we hear is that they must feel annoyed with a modern world that has left them behind. No one has been left behind. It's just that people have been inundated with information, and a lot of it is misleading. People now behave toward their iPhone the way a preacher behaves towards the Bible, and they hold it close to their breast as though whatever is written into it is the word of God. It is as though a tablet is a new innovation, but that which was once made of clay is now made of sterner stuff, and its modern counterpart's effect has been as revolutionary as its ancient forebear once was. Reading a sentence does not a professor make, nor does it make an individual an expert in a subject. So ask yourself, what has happened? People have had their identities sucked out of them and into their small iPad or iPhone. The individual has given him or herself over to a form of artificial intelligence, and it now possesses their lives. They have ceased thinking for themselves and have decided to let Facebook, Twitter, and every other form of information outlet like Google or YouTube be their thought process. It is such emotionless, detached and unquestioned, omniscient devices that are forming our modern society, and where social inclusion should be, there is only social exclusion. Communication may have increased, but it is at the expense of a community that has shrunk. People have ceased being individuals and have alternatively become pack animals, and in a dog-eat-dog world, such a thing can only have negative consequences. People have not understood that you still need to question what you read from your smartphone. You also need to question the people you interact with, as they are not the fountain of knowledge. And no matter what social class you come from, having like-minded people on the other end of the line can only go on to reinforce the prejudices you already have and not diminish them. We live more than ever in a world where injustice and inequality are known of, and where social movement is limited, as people gain advantage through not what they know, but who they know. This is what social networking has done. It has not built social inclusion, but it has defined social exclusion at all levels of society by creating barriers between the social classes. A form of social nepotism has been moulded. In modern parlance, this is the love of the similar, occurring when one person chooses to benefit another because they have the same socially generic background. In effect, what social networking has done is alienate people and make bias more entrenched, as it has solidified and dogmatized outdated views. It is this that separates people in the 21st century. People relate so strongly with their iPad or iPhone that they have not realized that it is not the extra limb or brain cell they always wanted. And having a savvy device does not make you savvy. Smart media does not make you or your media smart. The lack of understanding generated by such electronic devices is a challenge to a modern world of forward-thinking people, as there has been no Darwinian evolution into a greater state of consciousness, but something more sinister has been revealed, as these intellectual aids have been usurped by parasitic voyeurs who have fed off people's biases. Their demagoguery promotes anti-debate, as their opinions are so rigid that anyone who disagrees with them is subject to a frenzied vile tirade which clouds any true dialogue. People talk of globalization as though it's something to fear. I am curious as to why this is the case. So let us consider the effects of globalization. Take your iPhone. If people truly hate globalization, then why do they carry one of these in their pockets? Do they not see the irony, or rather the hypocrisy, of not wanting to be part of a global world and yet having, even craving, all the devices necessary to be connected to one? Globalization is not the few governing the many. It is in effect the many holding the few to account. It heralds the destruction and end to sweatshops around the world, and it will end women and child trafficking. It will signal the end to rogue states and any kind of state that believes they do not belong to a global community that now desires peace and not war. It is not about an Arab Spring, but a new beginning for man, away from the divisive nature of those that do not understand that a lack of control over others does not necessarily mean that there will be chaos in the world. Chaos actually comes from restricting people's liberties, inequality, and it comes from injustice, which is what you will encounter with a less global world. Imagine a global community where you can talk and have friends from Siberia to Antarctica, from Canada to Australia, from the UK to the US of A, and from China to Argentina. We are one human family and have always been so. Soon it will not only be easy to talk to someone from the other side of the world, it will also be easier and quicker than ever to visit them. There are a few people who will prevent unity through their demagoguery. They say that they are the only ones who speak for the people. There is a famous quote from Hamlet: "The devil have the art to take a pleasing form," which is what demigods do. But freedom of speech never meant freedom to hate, to be unkind, and to behave in an unrestrained manner. And those that listen to such people, the disenchanted and the disaffected, would say that they are angry with a system that has let them down. But what are they really angry with? Intolerance and bitterness grow over time and apply not just to one thing, but to many things, and not just to one person, but to those groups who feel a disassociation with society. Such people are being shown an unjust world outside their household, a world they have no control over, a world they feel threatened by. People know social exclusion. They have met it personally and have first-hand experience of social nepotism. They also know that this is a world of plenty, and yet still there are too few opportunities for social mobility or to climb out of poverty. So we hark back to this perception by certain social groups, which is that in this global world people have been left behind. But the carriage has not left the station with them on the platform. Indeed, what has occurred is that the bus has departed and these people have taken up their seats at the back, which has left them watching what's going on, and they have seen horrors, injustice and inequality being played out in front of them. Consequently, pessimism, negativity and rage have fostered, and it will go on to ferment until that time when it is expressed. This is what occurs when you alienate and isolate people and ignore their concerns. They turn to groups within their social network of like-minded people who behave toward their ideas like tinder to a fire, fueling their despondency and depression and letting it spiral out of control until that time when they are willing to listen to rapacious bigots who will turn that angst into rage and violence. This is why mentoring for an individual or an isolated group or any group is so important. And such mentors also need to be mediators between different social groups. People need to know that they and their children will be socially mobile rather than socially immobile, and that justice and equality will be allowed to flourish. If this does not occur, then social networking will drive a person's anger and not dispel it. I also understand that some people are frustrated by political correctness, but societies must evolve for the betterment of all. So when people are asked to question their actions and the effect they have on others, it is more than important, it is profound. There are those who believe we now have a nanny state gone mad. They are the ones who ignore the fact that certain people need to be restrained and told that their behaviour is inappropriate when it becomes so. Certain people do not have the ability to realise where the social barriers should be. This lack of empathy for others shows exactly why we need political correctness. Perhaps another reason why people feel there is injustice is the fact that people are judged by the same rules differently, or that people do not behave equally towards members of the larger community, which again has nothing to do with being left behind in a modern world. It has everything to do with social nepotism. This should be a more tolerant world, but a more tolerant world for everyone, where each of us is asked to rationalise and analyse why things occur the way they do. The social disadvantages of life should not remain in life. We should be more moving toward a world that recognises that all people are equal, that all people deserve the same unassailable human rights, and which teaches people to become accountable and responsible for their actions. This is what political correctness is really about. It is an attack on the bully, the bigot, and the ignorant. It is an attack on the great bastion of bias and disunity, which is practiced with social nepotism. Yes, globalization has its challenges and difficulties, but more importantly, the global world we live in is a wondrous, diverse place where equality, liberty, and the freedom to have a happy, fulfilled life should become more possible, where everyone should be able to fulfill their potential and enjoy the marvellous innovations being made. We all know there should be no more sweatshops. People should not be trafficked from nation to nation for nefarious purposes, and wars between nations should be made illegal. Of course, things like this, which do occur, will only cease in a more global world. So if you believe that people are living in the past and are frightened of the future, then you are misinterpreting the character and language of this modern world. As we now live in a super state of global information and disinformation, which has been made more accessible by social networking. But the question still remains, will this more informed world become a more humane world or a less humane one? Insular states are like insular, inward-looking people, and as such they are prone to the same problems, like that of paranoia, neurosis, and narcissism, which will lead to unjust and intolerant behaviour. So we need to stop attacking one another and start building bridges and schools and hospitals and care homes and universities. And to all those that question me, I say never stop questioning or challenging or debating, as more than ever we should become united. More than ever we should choose compassion over hate, and more than ever we should love one another. Thank you for listening.